My dear brothers and sisters in the risen Lord, ordinary time, 13th week, Saturday. Jesus truly watches over us with loving care. While driving along the highway, the adults in front of a car heard a horrifying sound of the car door opening and a sickening thud. When they looked back, they found their 3-year-old daughter, who was riding at the back seat, had fallen out of the car. The driver screeched to a stop and rushed towards the child. To her surprise, she found that all the traffic had stopped just a few feet away from the child. Her daughter had not been hit. When they rushed her to the hospital, they found no serious injury. As the mother rushed to her child, the little girl opened her eyes and said, "Mummy, you know I was not afraid. While I was lying on the road waiting for you to get back to me, I looked up and right there I saw Jesus holding back the traffic with his arms out." In today's gospel, John's disciples questioned Jesus why his disciples were not fasting. This is the third time the opponents of Jesus were finding fault with him. When he healed the paralytic by forgiving his sins, the scribes accused him of blasphemy. When he had dinner in Matthew's house, the Pharisees questioned his disciples why Jesus was consorting with the sinners and the publicans. And now the disciples of John the Baptist attacked Jesus why his disciples were not fasting, while they, the Pharisees, were fasting. We must always be prepared to be attacked by our enemies and sometimes even by our friends. Let's note. First note, Jesus defended his disciples. When the enemies of Christ could not find any solid accusation against Jesus, they began to target his disciples. By blaming them of not fasting, they accused them of loose and dissolute life. The Pharisees fasted at least twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, and the disciples of John fasted frequently following their master John the Baptist, who came neither eating nor drinking. Matthew chapter 11 verse 18. The disciples of Christ could not defend themselves because they were simple men and new to their discipleship. But Christ defended them. He will always defend his followers and speak for them. But we must make sure we take shelter under him. Second note, Jesus justified his disciples. The disciples were simple men, not much given to study and tough religious training. They still did not have sufficient strength for their duties. They were new wine, and the old doctrines would not suit them now. The disciples of John were trained men in austerity. They lived with John in the desert and on the shores of Jordan. At the time of Christ, they were academics and schools of prophets where men were trained to austere religious life, and many of them were Nazarites. Such men were exposed to a regular fasting and praying. Some such men were followers of John and the Pharisees. The disciples of Christ were simple men, most of them fishermen. They were not trained in austerity. They could not be exposed to tough life. Jesus knew their capacity and he was gentle in leading them. A good shepherd will not overdrive his lambs, and so Christ, the good shepherd, was gently leading his lambs, the disciples. But a time would come when the bridegroom would be taken away, and then they would fast and mortify themselves. May God bless you all. Amen.